Is taking some heat after leaked audio reveals his response to the death of Iran's supreme leader. Listen to what he told staff.
I also want to remind you guys that there are a lot of people in Dearborn who are sad today. So, I just don't want to comment on Khamenei at all. It's great that he's dead. My first man was 86 years old. He was going to be dead sometime soon anyway. Second, that doesn't justify, the fact that he was a bad man does not justify our breaking of international law and unilateral action outside of wartime.
Okay, so let's bring in Michael Oren, former Israeli ambassador to the U.S. Welcome to you, Ambassador. What did you think when you heard that?
Good to be with you, Sandra. I think what can I say? It's disgusting. Ayatollah Khamenei is a person who has killed tens of thousands of people, including thousands of his own citizens, raped and murdered women, gay people, hundreds and hundreds of Americans killed by this man. And the fact that anybody's saddened by his passing or is afraid to talk about people who are saddened by his passing is reprehensible. It just is. It's a moral meltdown is what it is. So we're going to say, and by the way, there is nothing remotely illegal about America's intervention in Iran. Iran committed literally hundreds of acts of war against the United States since 1979. In what moral universe is responding to that forcefully, a violation of international law? It beats me. These people know nothing about international law.
Well, this statement that he issued is more about the leak of the audio than the content of it. This is the statement that he released saying that this audio was obtained by a disgruntled employee. The fact that a right-wing news outlet, he says, may have illegally and unethically obtained a deliberation about how to talk about this by way of a disgruntled former employee is only a distraction. I mean, that sounds like a doubling down of the statement itself.
It does, but again, to be saddened by the death of Ayatollah Khamenei is itself, is as I said earlier, it's a moral meltdown. This is a person, again, responsible for the deaths of countless thousands of people in the most horrendous ways, and a person who, for 47 years, did nothing but declare war against the United States and make acts of war against the United States, and responding to that is legal under any definition of international law.
Well, I wonder how you think this is going to go over for him as he tries to make way there in Michigan. Maybe will it hurt him or will it help him?
In Michigan, I don't know. This is an internal American political issue. I'm telling you from an Israeli perspective, when we hear this debate about whether the American intervention, whether the Epic Fury operation is legal or illegal under international law, I got to tell you, we got to scratch our heads. We don't get what act of war, in addition, that Iran could commit against the United States that would make America's intervention legal under their definition. It is really quite baffling to us. And we don't have that problem. Iran has been trying to kill us now every single day, not just by verbally, but actually acting on it. And tonight, there are millions of Israelis who are in bomb shelters as Iranian proxies fire rockets at our people. Firing rockets tonight at the Galilee, which, as I know, is an area very precious to a great number of Americans. Everybody in the Galilee is in bomb shelters tonight because of Iran.
Well, Dr. Abdul El-Sayed also making headlines for campaigning with Hassan Piker, the left-wing streamer who's very, very popular on the internet. He's dividing Democrats over anti-Semitism, and campaigning with Dr. Abdul El-Sayed has becoming an issue. And this is what he is saying about that. Listen.
Any Democrat who tells you that you cannot speak with some group of people because of one offensive thing that they might have said is missing the point of what it means to actually bring people into a legitimate mainstream policy.
These responses are just baffling some people, but maybe he thinks it's not going to hurt him.
Well, I don't know about the politics of it, Sandra, but here's the reality of it. American Jews, Jews around the world will be celebrating Passover tomorrow night. And one of the themes of Passover is that in any generation, there are people going to try to come up and try to kill us as a people. And we have to stay strong, stay united, and we will survive. That's been the lesson of our history. And anti-Semitism in America is not just one person saying one thing one time. The FBI will tell you that some 70% of all the hate crimes against a religious group in the United States are against American Jews. And synagogues, Jewish community centers are under heavy guard, police guard, FBI guard over the next 24 hours. So it's not just people giving one-off statements. These are serious threats to a loyal and important community in the United States, and we, the Jewish people throughout the world.
As well as its power generation plants. Again, he said there are talks taking place. He said these talks are making great progress. They're going very well. He added this morning that the U.S. is now talking to what he called a, quote, new and more reasonable regime. Those are his words. Do you know anything about these talks? Can we attach any credibility to what the U.S. president is saying, or is this just about the markets and where they're going?
The fact that he threatens to carry out crimes against humanity, and the Western media is not shocked, or no one is outraged by this. It just shows that the entire political class of the United States and the collective West is just utterly corrupt. And this is the Epstein class and their lack of values that have led to this situation. The media doesn't pick up on this. No, there are no negotiations taking place. And the Iranians have been very clear that the facts on the ground have to change. And if the United States starts targeting Iran's critical infrastructure, no doubt, without any doubt, Iran will destroy the critical infrastructure that is literally controlled by the West. And of course, its proxies in the Persian Gulf are partners in the war against Iran. So it will destroy that critical infrastructure, and that will lead to a global economic depression far greater than 1929.
Now, there are already more forces, United States forces in the region. We've seen these thousands of troops moving into the area, and this all comes amid threats of a land invasion. In fact, the United States says that its goals now, and its goals keep changing, but its goals now is to seize Iran's uranium stockpile, as well as seize Khag Island, which is the oil terminal, the oil port that Iran uses to export its oil. With these troops in the region right now, how do you see this playing out?
It will fail. Of course, when they launch their ground invasion, which will probably come soon, you will see the collective Western media, even opponents of Trump, talk about the great successes and how they're making progress and how they're taking this land and that land and how the Iran. And for a couple of days, a lot of people will believe it. And then just like at the beginning of this war of aggression, we saw the same narrative. But then after a few days, it became clear that that wasn't the case and they're not winning. Ultimately, the United States will lose. They will not succeed. And any escalation will bring about escalation from the Iranian side. An escalation on the Iranian side and the axis of resistance, meaning Iraq and Yemen and, of course, Hezbollah, that escalation that would be initiated by the Trump and Netanyahu regimes would have permanent damage to the global economy. It will only make things worse. So the more they push and they move down this road of escalation, the more long-term damage is caused to the oil and gas installations and the petrochemical plants and the tankers in a way in which they're irreversible for years. And so it will only make the economic collapse more long-term and more deep for the entire world. And the world will blame the United States and the Israeli regime, and the American people will blame the Israeli regime because they will all know that this war is not in the interest of the United States, and it was imposed on the United States by the Israeli regime. And that, I think, is something that Zionists are not thinking about carefully, but ultimately they will pay the price.
Now, there is a possibility that this conflict could expand in the region itself. Iran has already hit targets in Kuwait. It's hit targets in Saudi Arabia as well. We've seen these reports of Iran targeting a United States surveillance plane, the AWACS plane. They were destroyed. Targets in Kuwait, as I said, have been hit as well. These states have also threatened to retaliate directly against Iran. What happens if they carry out their threat?
Nothing. These are empty threats. First of all, where were these American assets? Where was the AWACS plane destroyed? It was in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is a part of this war. They're a part of the aggression. They cannot pretend they're neutral. They're agents of empire. And the same is true with Kuwait and Qatar and the Emirates. They're all agents of empire. And if they strike Iran, then Iran will hit back harder. Iran has already said that any strike on us will be hit. Iran will respond massively with mass power. And Iran has already shown that. When the Israeli regime struck Iran's South Pars gas field, the Iranians had already said beforehand that we'll hit back harder. And Iran did so. It struck Israeli, Qatari, Saudi, and Emirati assets with great devastation. And that's what caused Trump to write on Truth Social that I had no knowledge about it, which is a lie. And all these attacks are coordinated between the two countries. He may not be involved because he's busy playing golf, but his people would definitely know. And then he said Israel won't do it again, which we don't believe because we don't believe him. And he's not the boss anyway. And that is another reason why talking with the United States is not useful. The United States is treacherous. We had the nuclear deal of 2015. Trump tore it up. We were negotiating 9 months ago. He was secretly conspiring against us. Again, this time around, he did the same thing. And right now, he's looking, by all accounts, for an off-ramp, but the Israeli regime and the Zionists won't give it to him. So obviously, he's not the boss. So why should we negotiate with someone who's not in charge of the United States?
We are seeing the impact of the closure of the Strait of Hormuz around the world. We've seen so many countries around the world now adopt emergency measures to reduce demand on energy. We're seeing some countries actually close their businesses earlier because they don't have the energy to keep those businesses open. What will it take from Iran's part for that strait to be reopened?
Well, the strait is not completely closed. Iran is helping countries that are particularly vulnerable. But first of all, Iran has to make sure that the facts on the ground change. So these Arab family dictatorships in the Persian Gulf, which have no popular legitimacy, they cannot be allowed to be a platform to murder Iranians in future. And they will have to pay reparations. So they have to behave like normal countries. And also, Iran's allies across the region, which are being targeted by the Zionist regime and the Americans, they have to be feel safe and secure. The Zionist regime had a ceasefire with Lebanon. They were violating it every day and murdering people every day. In the case of Gaza, they've been violating the ceasefire even, to greater, with greater deadly results. That's not acceptable. So the facts on the ground have to change. The Iranians have to feel assured that in future their sovereignty will be respected. And a few words by Trump or a piece of paper with his signature means nothing to us after what has happened. And these countries in the Persian Gulf region, they have no reason to complain. They brought this upon themselves. They thought that they could have their cake and eat it too. They thought that they could be agents of empire and see the empire destroy other countries through them, and they can just walk and sit in their palaces and in their restaurants and enjoy themselves. That's not going to happen.
Fuel up their beautiful ships and they'll leave and they'll take care of themselves. There's no reason for us to do it. We hit them hard. We got rid of a lot of the radicalized lunatics along the strait. But if they want something, but I would say that within 2 weeks, maybe 3, we're hitting them very hard. Last night we knocked out tremendous amounts of missile-making facilities. We, as you probably read or wrote, we knocked out. Excuse me?
Pardon me for interrupting. The U.S. will be gone or done with the war in
I think we're 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah. We'll leave because there's no reason for us to do this. Look, problem with the strait, a guy can take a mine, drop it in the water, and say, "Oh, it's unsafe." It's not like you're taking out an army or you're taking out a country, or they can drop it, or you can take a machine gun from the shore and shoot a few bullets at a ship, or maybe an over-the-shoulder missile, small missiles. That's not for us. That'll be for France. That'll be for whoever's using the strait. But I think when we leave, probably that's all cleared up. Today, I heard tremendous numbers of ships were sailing through. We're negotiating with them right now. They've been, again, we have had regime change. Now, regime change was not one of the things I had as a goal. I had one goal. They will have no nuclear weapon. And that goal has been attained. They will not have nuclear weapons. But we're finishing the job. And I think within maybe 2 weeks, maybe a couple of days longer to do the job. But we want to knock out every single thing they have. Now, it's possible that we'll make a deal before that, because we'll hit bridges, and we've hit some. We'll hit some bridges. We've got a couple of nice bridges in mind. But if they come to the table, that'll be good. But it doesn't matter whether they come or not. We've set them back. It'll take 15 to 20 years for them to rebuild what we've done to them. They have no Navy. They have no military. They have no Air Force. They have no telecommunications. They have no anti-aircraft systems. They have no leaders. Their leaders are all gone. That's why we have regime change. We have nice new leaders. Peter?
Thanks, President Trump. You talked about how the ballroom needs to have a drone-proof roof.
Right.
There have been drone swarms flying over sensitive military installations in the U.S. over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
The reports are they don't look commercial and they can't be jammed. Is this another country's military?
I don't think so. We have a great system of. Do you notice that over the last 4 or 5 days you haven't seen very many drone hits, right? We have some unbelievable anti-drone weaponry that's incredible. But you want to have, like, for instance, the ballroom. We have a very powerful very steel roof with other things in it. And you want to have, if you're building a building for security, just like his judge's opinion, you have to have security for the president and his staff. You need heavy, strong ceilings. You need seriously thick, bulletproof, ballistic glass. And we have that. Other buildings don't. Fairly modern buildings don't have that. They have roofs that are weak and they have regular glass windows.
There was this incident down at Barksdale, though, where apparently a whole swarm of drones for a couple hours was over the flight line. There's a lot of really important planes down there.
Yeah.
How concerned are you that this is something?
Well, I'm not concerned. Yeah, I know about it. They've checked that out and they've gotten to the bottom of it. You have a lot of people now that fly these things all over the place, and we're coming down very hard on them. But we're able to take them out militarily. We're able to take them out very easily. And a new thing is lasers. You know, the lasers are becoming very, very effective. You hit a drone and it melts in air. It's a beautiful thing to see. If it's coming at you, having a laser is a very nice thing. But we have, there are methods of defending against drones. I mean, the advantage from the standpoint of defense is they don't go very fast relative to a F-22, that plane right over there. They go very slow. They can be also shot out of the air by, high quality aircraft, which we have more than anybody ever had.
And there was a viral video this week. I don't know if you saw it. Army helicopters hovering near Kid Rock's house in Nashville. Did you see that video?
I didn't see it, no, but I'm sure they had a good time.
So the Army just said the crews of these helicopters have been suspended. What do you think of that?
Well, it depends. They probably shouldn't have been doing it. Yes, you're not supposed to be playing games, right? But I'd take a look at it. They like Kid Rock. I like Kid Rock. Maybe they were trying to defend him. I don't know.
Does Iran have to make a deal for the U.S. to end its operation in Iran? And
No.
Have you spoken, and
Iran
have you
doesn't have
spoken
to.
directly?
Iran doesn't have to make a deal. No. Yeah, I've spoken to a lot of people. It's a new regime. They are much more accessible. They are right. They said, we have a present for you, Mr. President, out of respect. And they said, wait a minute, you wanted me to answer the question. You're a fresh person. We've had a lot of problems with you, haven't we? No, they don't. You asked me a question. No, they don't have to make a deal with me. When we feel that they are, for a long period of time, put into the Stone Ages, and they won't be able to come up with a nuclear weapon, then we'll leave. Whether we have a deal or not, it's irrelevant. Now, it's possible that we'll have a deal because they want to make a deal. They want to make a deal more than I want to make a deal. But in a fairly short period of time, we'll be finished. They will not be able to do a nuclear weapon for years. And when they are ready, maybe in a long time from now, able to do a nuclear weapon, you'll have a president that will be like me and that he will go there and he'll knock the hell out of them again because they cannot have a nuclear weapon. They are very radicalized people. They're very sick leaderships. And I will say, though, that the leadership we're dealing with now, with the new regime, because we have a new regime, and the new regime is much better than the past. Yeah.
Mr. President, the Iranian government threatened a bunch of U.S. companies today in the region, including Google, Apple.
With what? What did they threaten them with? BB guns? Or,
well, that's
they don't have much left to threaten.
My question for you is, are you...
I don't know. I mean, what did they... You made a statement. What did they threaten them with? I don't know.
Nice of them to have a stay over for Easter, isn't it?
Yeah. Which house is it again? Okay.
Wowzers, that's big Easter energy. At Asda, buy 6 or more bottles of wine or fizz and save 25%. That's Asda price.
The News Agents podcast is brought to you by HSBC UK, opening up a world of opportunity.
This is a Global Player original podcast.
You are starting to see this picture emerge, which is, not quite such a weak Europe, a Europe that's starting to know its mind on this.
Trump having the biggest presidential paddy that you could imagine. He really is Captain Chaos right now.
Whoever comes after Trump, and I'm sure there are people who still think it will be J.D. Vance and all the rest of it, but there is a world in which whatever he's done has been so perfect for Europe.
I think he knows in his bones, I think that he's made a mistake.
Hello, good afternoon. We begin with breaking news from Buckingham Palace. The King will go ahead with a state visit to the United States next month, despite the ongoing war in the Middle East. King Charles and Queen Camilla will...
The announcement came almost uncannily at the same moment as Donald Trump was lambasting the United Kingdom and telling it to show some courage in Iran.
Trump slags us off. The King says he's going on a state visit. Is it time for us to tell Trump to piss off? Welcome to the News Agents.
Christian Zionists believe that Jesus Christ's second coming cannot occur until the Jewish people are gathered in their ancestral homeland.
God gives them the land to go in and take the land. He didn't give it to the Presbyterians out of Scotland. He didn't give it to the German Lutherans. He gave it to the Jewish people.
You want redemption, you want second coming of God, of Messiah, keep out of my political scenario.
But in order to get peace, sometimes it is wholly necessary to prepare for war. That is a quintessential biblical message.
Can we agree that the death of Ayatollah Khamenei is a good thing for the people of Iran and the world?
No, actually I don't.
Given that he's not sure, Donald Trump, that he'll make it to heaven, what should he be doing?
Good morning, it's the Scott Mills Breakfast Show.
Why was Scott Mills, one of the BBC's biggest stars, abruptly ousted by the corporation after nearly 30 years of service? 24 hours later, and the BBC is still not revealing why. But today, in a stunning development, the Metropolitan Police released this statement. In December 2016, the Met began an investigation related to allegations of serious sexual offences against a teenage boy, reported to have taken place between 1997 and 2000. A man who was in his 40s at the time was questioned by police under caution in July 2018. The Crown Prosecution Service determined the evidential threshold had not been met to bring charges. The investigation was closed in May 2019. The Met has confirmed that the teenage boy in question was under 16 years old, but tonight it told Channel 4 News they have not received any additional evidence that would support reopening the investigation.
The revelations from the Metropolitan Police raise serious questions both for Scott Mills and the BBC. Mills worked there from 1998 onwards, the same time as the alleged serious sexual offences took place. And he worked there when he was questioned by police about the allegations a decade later in 2018. Did the BBC know about it then? And why has Mills's contract been terminated now? Is it related to these past allegations? Has fresh evidence come to light? Or are there potentially new allegations against him? We simply do not know, and the BBC is not saying.
But we do know the BBC is under extreme pressure after the resignation of another star presenter, Hugh Edwards, who pleaded guilty to making indecent images of children in 2024.
So we brought a lawsuit against them.
And in the midst of a $10 billion lawsuit brought by President Trump against the broadcaster for allegedly misrepresenting his words in a documentary. That led to both the Director General and Head of News stepping down. So could it be that the BBC has acted too quickly before the Mills story broke in the Mirror newspaper?
I think the BBC was caught between a rock and a hard place, and they had promised after recent events that they would act firmly, and the chairman in particular issued a warning to staff. It's also the last week of the present Director General's tenure, and perhaps he was keen to clear the slate for his successor. I can see all these pressures applying to the BBC. I can understand why it had to take Scott Mills off air. Whether in order to protect its own reputation, it has protected him sufficiently is another matter.
See you tomorrow.
Bye! See you tomorrow, Scott Mills said last Tuesday as he came off air, seemingly unaware his lifelong career at the BBC was about to come to an abrupt end, with no real explanation so far from his employer or any word from the man himself.